So the Euro 2024 draw happened. It went kind of weird. Not only was there strange noises in the presentation, but the draw was also kind of balanced. Now before you get angry, I know there is definitely some decent groups. With that being said, let's go through all the groups right now and get some early reaction to the teams in them. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Now I think Group A is one of the most interesting groups in this whole draw. I think overall it's more balanced than people give it credit for. Obviously Germany are awful at the moment. They have lost most of their games. They did beat France recently, but other than that, they've not really won that many friendlies. But they haven't really been playing competitive games and they've just got a new manager in, so it is sort of hard to judge them. And I also expect them to do decently in this tournament. They are at home. The home advantage is massive in tournaments like this, so I expect them to go a decent amount away. But their group is kind of hard. I'd say it's very balanced and there's a lot of teams in this that could cause some upsets. Now for one, Germany will be dreading to play Hungary. Hungary come into this tournament on a lot of good form. In the last Euros, they were obviously put in that group of death with Germany, Portugal and France, and just for the last 20 minutes before the group ended, were actually going through. In the end, they didn't win a game in that group, but they did draw to Germany and were very impressive in the other game. In the qualifiers, they topped their group, not losing a game. They did have quite an easy group though, so I don't know if it's that good, but they did do very well to do that. And Szoboszlai is obviously a key player for them, so if he's fit for this tournament, I expect big things. And Scotland also come into this group with amazing form. They won their first 5 games of qualifying, which made them qualify for the tournament over Norway pretty easily. And since then, they've struggled in some friendlies, but they did the job that needed to be done. It was a brilliant qualifying for them. I do expect them to cause some problems in this group, but I do think overall the group is all pretty balanced above them, so I think they could still struggle. But at least there's high expectations for it. And rounding off this group is Switzerland. Now Switzerland are in every European Championship and every World Cup, but they don't really do much, getting to the first knockout round sometimes and usually getting destroyed. And they didn't have the best qualification either. Their group was not that hard and they only just beat Israel by 2 points to qualify. Romania obviously smacked them up as well. They did only lose 1 game though and just drawed a lot, so I do think they would still do quite well in this group and I could see them getting out maybe as a 3rd place best team. Despite this group having a lot of teams that are very much on form right now, if Germany don't get out of it, I think it'll be a disgrace at home, so I do expect them to go through and I think Hungary will really surprise people in this tournament and go quite far. Now we get into one of the best groups I think in the tournament, Group B, with Spain, Albania, Croatia and Italy. Now first, it's great to talk about Italy. Obviously Italy are the reigning champions of the Euros, but they didn't make it to the World Cup and they didn't have the best qualifying, only just qualifying ahead of Ukraine from a late dodgy penalty not being given. This put them in pot 4 anyway, so they're in this group. And Italy aren't on the best form either. They do the job when they need to against smaller teams, but against England they basically got put away twice home and away and weren't brilliant against Ukraine either. And in this group they will be going against Spain, who obviously they knocked out Spain in the semi-final on penalties in the last European Championship, so Spain will want revenge for that game. Spain is still going through their rebuild phase and they still don't really have a great striker to put on the end of it, with Joselu and Morata still being their main ones, despite Morata having still a great season this year. And obviously the missing of Gavi will be massive in the midfield, but I do think their team overall has improved a lot since the Euros and they have had a lot more experience, so I do expect them to win this group. And in qualifying they also played an on-form Scotland and a brilliant Norway sides, and they won 7 out of 8 of their games and they lost away to Scotland, so you've got to rate that as a great form coming into the tournament. Now Croatia always do well at the World Cup and not really great at the Euros. This makes their ranking high, which makes their qualifying groups a lot more easier, but they still didn't win it this year, coming just 1 point behind Turkey. They still had Wales in that group, obviously qualified for the last Euros and did pretty well to come 2nd. Their team is so old and it's been aging as a decade. They have new players like Vardiao in the team which make them better, but people like Modric is still a starter for them. Their form isn't very great as well, but they seem to do decently at tournaments, so I could see them coming 3rd in this group and getting through, or beating Italy in a grudge match. Then that leaves Albania, which is massively unfortunate to get into this group because they actually won their qualifying group on goal difference to Czech Republic, who are a decent side. Albania aren't a bad team, but they haven't really been tested in qualifying and I expect them to probably come bomb this group easily. Now we get to England's group, where it is Gareth Southgate's last real chance to be proven as a great manager, as it is probably his last tournament. England were overall brilliant in qualifying. They did fall off in their last 2 games and didn't play that well, but they weren't really playing for anything as they'd already topped the group, and they were just experiment with different players, which I think is needed for the tournament overall. And this does feel like this is England's peak at the moment. All their players are in form, all their players are brilliant and ready to go for this tournament, and I do think they've got a real chance of winning it. But they do have Denmark in their group. They beat Denmark in the semi-finals of the last Euros at home by that rebound penalty, and Denmark were brilliant in that tournament and probably one of the best teams and could have won it. And Denmark did alright in qualifying. They won 7 out of their 10 games in a very competitive group. They obviously came joint on points with another team in this group, and I think overall they were very good, but they seem to not score as many goals as they used to, so I don't think they're as good as the last Euros. And a surprise candidate for the team they actually drew with in the group was Slovenia, who are also in this group in the Euros. Now even though these 2 teams played each other, they haven't really been tested against anyone else, but Slovenia have a good core team. They have a great keeper in Jan Oblak, and they have a brilliant front 2 in Andrej Spora and Benjamin Sesko. Sesko. Obviously Sesko is their main real threat, but he hasn't really played this season for Leipzig, so I hope he gets more minutes before the Euros. And ending off this group is Serbia, who I think make this group quite balanced. Serbia came second in qualifying behind Hungary and won 4 out of their 8 games, but they are a team that always is at these tournaments and can always cause a shock. However, they haven't really done it in a very long time, but they have a brilliant attacking line, so I do expect some threats to be there. The interesting thing about this group is that other than Denmark, most of the teams have better attacks than defence, so I expect a lot of goals in this group, which I wouldn't usually expect from an England group. But realistically, England should be expecting to win this. Group D is going to be the one that gets most of the headlines because it sees France and Netherlands face off against each other. Obviously, this is a rematch to qualifying as they were both in the same group, with France winning 22 points in the group and Netherlands coming second with 18, with Netherlands only losing twice to France and France not losing a game. France undoubtedly are the favourites for this tournament. They have the most depth, they have the best team, and they probably have the best player going into the tournament, Mbappe. So whoever they go against, they should expect to win. I think Netherlands should expect to get out of this group quite easily, but their team is a bit inconsistent. I know they have a lot of troubles with the press over there, and it seems like they keep playing youngsters and keep playing different players to try and get the right balance of the team. Their course is playing a lot up front as well, which I don't know if that's a strike you want going into the tournament. I also don't really rate Ronald Koeman, but that's on me. The other team in this group is Austria, who are just there. They usually are there in the tournaments. I don't really think they'll get through. They came second in qualifying, 1 point behind Belgium, but they didn't play in an overly good group, and they're not the most interesting team in the world. And this group also got the exciting inclusion of the playoff from Path A being even Poland, Estonia, Finland or Wales. Now straight off the bat, I think Wales will probably qualify. Estonia, I don't even know how are in Group A. They were awful and they got 1 point in qualifying. Finland also I don't really rate. I mean, Pukki's a great player, but he's very old. Poland were awful in qualifying, and I don't really have any expectations for them, despite obviously still having Lewandowski, and I think Wales are a more balanced side, but Poland or Wales it is for me. But overall, I don't really know if they're going to get through the group still for France and Netherlands. Now to me, Group E is probably one of the most interesting in the tournament. Now I put a short out and a lot of people were saying that this is the most balanced group, and it really is a very balanced group on paper, because despite Belgium moving away from their golden era, I still think their team is very good. They did win qualifying, but yeah, again, they were in that Austria group, which I don't really rate, but they did go unbeaten and Lukaku scored a lot of goals. Belgium's rank is still too high, and they keep getting these easy runs in the competitions and groups, but they don't really do much with it. I mean, in the World Cup, they got destroyed, and the same thing could happen here. This is because they're going against Romania, who come into this tournament on amazing form. They won their qualification group pretty easily, going unbeaten, winning 6 and drawing 4. They had Switzerland in their group, and they beat them by 5 points overall, and it weren't really hard for them, impressing a lot of people, only conceding 5 goals in 10 games. I think they've very much gone under the radar, and I definitely think they have enough to beat Belgium and win this group, with the other team being Slovakia, who obviously got smacked up in the last Euros by Spain, but I think they'll be a much better in this tournament. They came second in the qualifying group behind Portugal and got 22 points, which is the same as Romania, who won it. I feel like the strength for both Slovakia and Romania is their defence, so if they start leaking goals, then there could be some issues though, but I do think this group will be very competitive. This group is finished off by the Path B playoff winner, which is between Israel, Iceland, Bosnia and Ukraine. Now I think it will probably be Ukraine or Israel because they have looked the most impressive in qualifying, with Ukraine probably should have qualified anyway. And I think Ukraine, if they were in this, could do a lot of damage to some of these teams, making it even more balanced because I think they're all very overall good teams. I think if you're a Romanian or Slovakian fan though, you are really excited about this draw and you've got a massive chance to go somewhere in this tournament. Now last is Group F, and it always seems like Portugal in the last group in a tournament, they're always at the end since I was born, I swear. And this could be a massive opportunity for Ronaldo to go far, because I do think the group will have some problems for them, but Portugal are one of the best teams in this tournament for me, and I do think they should easily be winning this group. And they come into this tournament on the best form anyone could have. I mean, they did have an exceptionally easy qualifying group, I will say, but they won every single game and only conceded 2 goals and scored 36, so you can't really go any wrong with that. And with this probably being Ronaldo's last big tournament, there's a real chance to win another Euros for him, so I do think there's a big opportunity here for Portugal. Turkey are the second team in this group, and now Turkey were the dark horses for everyone in the last Euros with their really young team and really exciting team, but they really didn't perform well in that tournament and got embarrassed by people like Wales and Switzerland. I do think there'll be a lot of people calling them the dark horses again. They did very well in qualifying. The Croatia and Wales in their groups are not the easiest, and they won the group. They beat Croatia by a point, getting 17 points, winning 5 out of 8 games. They don't score an over a lot of goals, and they don't concede an overly less amount of goals, but they're very consistent and they're very good at grinding out results, and I do expect a better performance this tournament. However, Czech Republic can also cause some issues. Obviously, Czech Republic were brilliant in the last Euros. They were in England's group. They got to the quarterfinals, knocking out Netherlands on the way. They also had Patrick Schick, who was an absolute fire that tournament. Now, Patrick Schick hasn't really got into Leverkusen's team since they got better and since Boniface came in, so he will be out of form, I think, going into the tournament. I also think Czech Republic overall got a bit lucky that tournament and was more of a one-off, so I don't really expect him to get out of the group. However, the last Euros proved that you can't take them lightly. And rounding out this group is obviously the Path C bracket, which is the most fun bracket because that gave us North Macedonia in the last Euros, and it's teams that are just never going to qualify usually. And in this one, we could get the same again. It's between Georgia, Luxembourg, Greece and Kazakhstan. Now on paper, you would think Greece would probably go through, but I do think some of these teams are quite good. I've been very impressed by Georgia, obviously Kvaratskhelia carrying them, and I've been very impressed by Luxembourg in the group stage. In the qualifying, they were very impressive, and they could really cause some upsets here. It's hard to judge because they all play very good sides, and some of them play better sides, so they may lose more games. And it would be cool to see any of these teams in the tournament again, but I do think they will come bottom when they actually get to the tournament, but it'd be good for any of them to get there. Obviously, it's a massive fall off for Greece, but you know, you got to take it. They weren't at the last one. What do you guys think about the draw? I actually think it's overall quite balanced. There's not many games where I'm going to think that one team's just going to smack the other one. I think a lot of games it could be either way, whoever wins. Overall, on current form and team-wise, I think England, France and Portugal are probably the three favourites for the tournament, but I do think there's other teams that could cause shock. Type in the comments who you think your dark horse and favourites are for the tournament. If you like this content, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.